So now we know. Now we know who the Rams are going to play this Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks. Before we dive into that, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Be sure to follow me on all social media at JKBogan, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Kick. And in addition to that, just want to let you guys know that today's sponsor is Prize Picks. And I already have this stuff planned out for you. You can use my promo code, essentially. My promo code, JKBogan. You'll get $50 instantly when you play at least a $5 lineup. And I've given you the $5 lineup here. If you're watching this, this is Saturday that I'm posting this. Plenty of time to go out and take advantage of this opportunity. And these are 4 of the top 6 most played projections on Prize Picks in the NFL section. Of course, you could also use NBA, NHL, all of that. But for the NFL, Jamar Chase, I like him to have more than 93.5 receiving yards. I think it's going to be a huge game for Chase. I think he might even go close to 200. He's going to lay it all on the line. I mean, he has a chance to win the Triple Crown. I think they're going to force feed him the ball, and they also need him. If they have any shot at making the playoffs, they need a lot of things to go their way. Dolphins to lose, the Broncos to lose, and they need to beat the Steelers. But I think it's still possible. So Chase, having him more than 93.5. T. Higgins, more than 77.5. Joe Burrow's going to be throwing that thing everywhere. Speaking of which, Joe Burrow, 289.5 passing yards. In addition to that, Derrick Henry, he's going to have more than 100, I believe, in this game, so we'll take him having more there. And then, of course, Baker Mayfield in a must-win game. Win and you're in for Tampa. Lose, and then you have to hope that the Falcons also lose. But, you can take care of business. He just needs 255 against a bad New Orleans team, and that's going to do it for you. So not only if you put 5 in, you'll win 90, but in addition to that, you'll get $50 added onto your account using my code JKBogan. So get in on the action. Link is in the description below. Okay, now we got that out of the way. Let's talk about it. So Sean McVay came out, confirmed that there's some guys that are going to be rested and are out for this game, but not as many as maybe you and I thought. And obviously that doesn't rule out the possibility as the game goes on, they'll feel it out. This is still a game that the Rams would like to win. They would like to get the 3rd seed, be in position to potentially host 2 playoff games, depending on how things go at SoFi. But at the same time, they're not going to break their backs to win this game. They're not going to throw Matthew Stafford out there. They want to give him the rest. Kyren Williams will not be out there. He's had over 300 touches, the most since Steven Jackson in 2010, Sam Bradford's rookie season. Puka Nacua will not be out there. That means, unfortunately, he's going to fall 10 yards short of 1,000. But, bigger picture here, it's all about the Super Bowl. It's all about, chasing that Lombardi trophy, not necessarily 10 yards for the accolade of getting to 1,000. What he did in just a limited amount of time, because he missed 6 games, no one is going to take anything away from Nakua's season. Cooper Kupp also really needs the time off. He's been having a hard time, really since that Bills game. He just really has had a hard time separating, even before that. So hopefully, he just gets a week off, feels a little bit better. Alaric Jackson, I think this speaks volumes. They're sitting out their left tackle. They're sitting out their right guard. Avila will be in there. Bo Limmer will be in there. Havenstein is out, but I think this speaks volumes, and the reason being is because by sitting Alaric Jackson, you are saying he is one of the key and critical players on your offense. And to me, that says really good things. If you're one of those people that are in the camp of bringing back Alaric Jackson on potentially a long-term deal, but also potentially a short-term deal with maybe high incentive, I think we're going to see Alaric Jackson as a Ram next year. I think they are going to bring him back. I think they are going to give him a deal. I guess my projection there, if I had to put a number on that, would be 2 years, $50 million. So you'd be looking at $25 million each year. Obviously, they can do some things with void years and move the money around and what have you, but I could see that. Now, I could also see him looking for a long-term deal as well. I just don't know if the Rams would give him 5 years or anything like that, but they might give him a 3-year deal, maybe 3 years, $75 million. Have to understand it's going to be upwards $20 million for a left tackle that is doing what Alaric Jackson is doing. He has his limitations. I think the Rams are totally okay with that. They've accepted that. And yeah, I think there's a real shot that you could see, Alaric Jackson getting that extension. So we'll see what ends up happening. Kevin Dotson's been the most consistent player. That's not really a shock to me. The guy has just been unbelievable. He really is. As good as you think he is, he's probably a lot better than what you think he is. That's how good he is. And then Rob Havenstein was designated with a shoulder injury, so little concerning there. But what does that mean for the team? Well, I would expect, well, obviously, you're going to see Jimmy Garoppolo under center. This is a great opportunity for not just the Rams here to, obviously get their backup some playing time in case, God forbid, Stafford were to go down the playoffs. You got to keep things rolling. Eagles fans were really bummed, obviously, when Carson Wentz went down with the injury, but they didn't just give up on the season because Nick Foles came in and won the Super Bowl. That's the way the NFL works sometimes. So if, God forbid, Stafford were to go down with an injury, you have to make sure your backup's prepared. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't even take snaps in the preseason. So this is a huge opportunity for him to get a full game of reps. This is why you don't play Stetson Bennett. I know there's some people that are like, I really want to see Stetson. This isn't a preseason game. This isn't a throwaway game. I thought it might be, but the Rams are playing all of their defense, and they're not sitting out all of their offense either. So it does give you an idea that they still want to win this game. They just want to win it in a certain way where they're able to rest their guys, and they're not going to, throw these guys in the fire and risk injury just to win this game. But they still want to win, and they believe that they are competitive enough and good enough to do that. And the thing with Garoppolo is they chose him over Carson Wentz. Wentz, of course, won Week 18 last year against the San Francisco 49ers. Both teams kind of sitting out some starters there. But, the thing about Wentz is that while they liked his mobility and everything, they didn't feel like he was perfect within the system, can play within the confines of the system, because they don't really want a guy that goes off script. Once they get, once Stafford's down, if that happens, they want a backup that's going to be able to manage the game. And I think that's something Garoppolo will be able to do in this one. I think I give them a fighting chance. I still think they lose, but I don't think they lose by 14 like I did before. I think Garoppolo will manage the game. You'll see Blake Corum at running back. Ronnie Rivers, I'm sure you'll see, the restricted free agent. But I would probably expect to see number 32, Cody Schrader, a little bit in this one because, McVay mentioned him in the McVay show. Not Ronnie Rivers. He mentioned Cody Schrader, who's been on the 53-man roster. 49ers, of course, let him go before the season. Rams claimed him, and he's been on the 53-man roster ever since. So, that'll be interesting to see him get action. But this is going to be the Blake Corum show. I expect Corum will get at least 18 carries in this one, maybe in the 20s, maybe higher. But I do expect them to be polling starters as the game goes on. I don't think the entire defense is going to play the entire game. I just don't see it that way. There are guys that you can put in there that I think would benefit from these reps, like a Tyler Davis, who they love in the interior defensive line. How about Brennan Jackson, getting him opportunities now? You might need him, right? Nick Hampton goes down. Brennan Jackson is kind of that next man up after you have, the cheetah package of Hoyt and, of course, Verse and Byron Young. So getting Brennan Jackson some opportunities makes a lot of sense. Linebackers, you don't have a lot of linebackers, so they can't really do too much there. It's really just Jake Hummel, and if you want to play, a safety there, whatever, but it's going to be Omar Spates and Christian Roseboom probably for the majority of the game, and then Hummel will come in for one of them, but Roseboom's having a good year, and obviously Spates has been huge. And then at cornerback, I think Akello Witherspoon will be playing on like third downs and situational downs. They won't pull him necessarily, but you could see him have a decent role in the first quarter, second quarter, and then the second half, kind of more of that third down, delegation. You might see Kobe Durant a little bit. I do think you see Emmanuel Forbes in this one. How much, I don't know, but I do think you see him. I think you'll see Josh Wallace. I think they'll try to get him involved. I'm curious who they're going to take off the practice squad, who's going to be elevated. We'll find that out later today. We don't have that yet. Of course, I'll have that information when it is released. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, opportunity there for those guys, non-53-man roster guys that might play, that could be added. First off, obviously Charles Woods, he gets promoted every week, but they have another option. They could promote another guy, and I think they will choose to do that, whether that's Quintez Cephas, the wide receiver, who has been on the practice squad all year. I don't know. Maybe linebacker Tony Fields. That would make sense. Get them some depth there because Troy Reader can't come back until the playoffs. Rashad Weaver, the edge defender. I think that would make a lot of sense. Get him some reps if you need him. Like I said, they're down to Brennan Jackson, really. That's it. because Nick Hampton's done for the year. AJ Green, the cornerback, talented. Do they give him an opportunity? That remains to be seen. The safeties, Tanner Engel, Quindell Johnson, what do you do there? I don't think they'll go the safety route because if they're trying to get these guys reps before the postseason, maybe if they want to use them, John Johnson will be back, right? So I think there is a chance Tony Fields plays, but I think there's also a chance we see Rashad Weaver. I think there's a chance we see Cephas. But at the same time, I think they would rather just get, Xavier Smith some wide receiver opportunities than put Cephas on the 53 for the game. But we'll see who they elevate. I also think, there's definitely a chance we'll see Dylan McMahon, the interior offensive lineman that they got off waivers. The Eagles cut him. So there's some different opportunities there for sure. Desjuan Johnson should play a bit. But yeah, going back to it though, looking at who's expected to start, you got Garoppolo, you got Blake Corum, you're going to see Cody Schrader more in that role. What happens at wide receiver? I think a lot of people want to know, what are they going to do there? Well, I think Tutu Atwell is going to start. I think Jordan Whittington's going to start. I think that third spot will be kind of balanced between a Demarcus Robinson, a Tyler Johnson, Xavier Smith. That's kind of how I see it. Maybe they call up Drake Stoops, who, basically he was, by reports, he was the guy that was, on the scouting team. He was emulating Jackson Smith and Jigba. So maybe Drake Stoops gets a call up or something like that. I don't know, but I would expect Smith, Johnson, and of course Robinson to all kind of, be in there. Tutu Atwell might not get a full game because he is part of the offense. He does get a lot of reps. Jordan Whittington, I feel like this is an opportunity here to get him acclimated back into the flow. This is a guy that was your number one receiver in that Packers game and really was kind of taking off. Gets that shoulder injury at the very end on the final drive. And then you really saw him he tried to play against the Raiders. They brought him in. He was kind of banged up and they used him to block in the final frame in the fourth quarter. And then really he just never got going after that because you had Puka Nacua come back and, of course, Cooper Kupp. And then Tutu Atwell gets pushed back aside, even though he was the leading receiver for about 11, 12 weeks of the season. So I think it's an opportunity to get Atwell going and Whittington going. But I also think, there's a chance that these guys might have enough of a role when when the postseason comes that they might not want to just throw them in there like that. So, we'll see what ends up happening there. Tyler Higbee, I do expect to start. I think they'll be doing the usual. Hunter Long will play as well. Davis Allen, Colby Parkinson, but I think you got to get Tyler Higbee the reps. You got to get him kind of sped up where, he has a chance to really impact the game in the postseason like he did in the Jets game. Obviously, that touchdown was huge. So we'll see there. Offensive line, Joe Noteboom will be playing left tackle. I think that's a good thing, okay? Joseph Noteboom, I watched play left tackle last year against the Giants, did not allow a pressure. That was a really tough Giants team. A lot of pressure up front from those guys. You talk about, Kayvon Thibodeau and all that. And so I think, definitely having Joe Noteboom at left tackle in a pinch when I was at MetLife Stadium and we find out 3 hours before the game that Alec Jackson isn't going to play. Actually, it was it was 3 hours before the game they found out. It was about an hour before the game we found out. But keep in mind, Noteboom has played well at left tackle. The issue is he's not a right tackle. So I think that's really good to get him reps there just in case, Alec Jackson goes down during the postseason. Noteboom can kind of be thrown right into the fire there at left tackle and have those experiences and what have you. Should be fine. Garoppolo should be able to be protected. We'll see what ends up happening. But I trust Noteboom at left tackle a hell of a lot more than I trust him at right tackle. Steve Avila at left guard. I don't think he's going to play the majority of the game. I think he'll play maybe at a first quarter or second quarter, whatever. But I think you'll probably see Justin Diedick get put in that role. Bo Limmer will play center for a little bit. Obviously, I don't know if he'll play the full game, but if he does, I wouldn't be surprised. They also have Dylan McMahon, who could play either or of those positions. Jonah Jackson, I expect to play the full game. This is a right guard here. He's going to play right guard for them. And he's a guard through and through. They tried to make him a center. It didn't work. I like this. Let's see what Jonah Jackson has to offer. Was he worth the $18 million? I think he actually could have been. But, that whole approach of trying to make him a center, I think really threw him off. Then he gets hurt because he was playing out of position, in my opinion. And he was dealing with injuries throughout the preseason and training camp anyway. So hopefully Jones Jackson gets back on his feet. That way, if anything were to happen, God forbid, he's available and ready to go. Warren McClendon Jr., who should have been at right tackle last week, of course, he would be playing right tackle in this game. So that's a big deal. Get him those reps. Rob Havenstein clearly dealing with something there. Just get Warren McClendon, some reps at right tackle, get his confidence up. And then maybe if God forbid you need to have him go in the postseason, he's a little bit more ready than maybe he would be right now. So that's a lot. I guess really kind of to summarize it, I think Garoppolo will play pretty solid. I think this is going to be a heavy ground and pound style game. They're going to try to, really slow down the tempo. They're going to have Blake Corum run the football. Garoppolo will have opportunities. Keep in mind, he has been working with these guys as the second, quarterback. So I think he has more of a rapport with Whittington and Atwell and some of the guys like Tyler Johnson and Xavier Smith that maybe some people realize. So I think that goes into it. I would really expect to see a balanced attack, but leaning towards the run game. And I think the Rams are going to be able to move the ball. I do. The defense, I think, is going to play pretty well. Then when they start to take out guys, you'll start to see Jackson Smith and Jigba, DK Metcalf, Zach Charbonnet. These guys will be able to get some yards. And I think Seattle wins this game. I'm going to say 23-20 now. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Before I had 34-20 against the Rams. And that was like if the Rams just didn't, I didn't think they'd play any of their starters, really. I think they would try and rest everybody. But if they kind of do what they did against the 49ers last year, that's the approach, then yeah, I think it'll be a close game, and I think they have a chance to win. It just depends on, if Garoppolo gets pushed into those situations where he has to step up and be the guy, is he going to do that? I mean, I trust Geno Smith a little bit more than Garoppolo, actually a lot more than Garoppolo. But at the same time, Garoppolo was playing for his future, right? Not just with the Rams, with the other 29 teams, because obviously he's not going to go back to the Raiders or the 49ers. But he is essentially, this is his resume. He's trying out for 29 other teams. And I think that's an important distinction here. I think that's important to realize. They're giving him an opportunity. Carson Wentz made do of that opportunity. He got a decent contract to go over the Kansas City Chiefs, who will be playing this week against the Broncos. But we'll see what ends up happening. Garoppolo, could he be the backup next year? Absolutely. The talk of him being the successor to Stafford that I've seen out there, I think is way too premature. But we're going to see. A lot of good comments. They've always liked Jimmy G. McVay has always talked highly about him. So we're going to find out. But that's going to do it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Special shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. You can use my code JKBogan, get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. And hope to see you guys soon. Be sure to check out my new channel, The Lounge. And that's all I got for you guys. Later, folks. And just a quick reminder, my new YouTube channel, if you want to support me further, it is The Lounge. I'll be having all sorts of guests from athletes, entrepreneurs, musicians, artists, actors, you name it. I am going to bring them on. So I'm looking forward to this show. It's going to get off the ground very shortly. We're over 500 subscribers. So it'd be really awesome to get to 1,000 before we even drop our first video, which will be soon. That's asking a lot. But if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and can't wait to see you guys there. In case you guys haven't noticed, I do have a Discord channel for my community on this channel. And if you want to be a part of it, it is free. The link is in the description below. You can sign up. This is basically a 24/7 Rams channel, and we are almost at 1,100 members. So if you want to be a part of it, just hit the link in the description below.